Log entry 365, 1 year. The infection in my veins is a constant low-frequency hum, but the real curse is what it did to my ears. As a forensic audio engineer, I used to hunt killers by sound. Now I can hear every corpse in this city groaning. And just now, I heard one that sounds intelligent, and it knows I'm here. Log entry 365, 1 year to the day. The fever from the bite is a low, constant hum beneath my skin, a 20 hertz sine wave of pure malice, a fire that never goes out. But the infection's real curse isn't the heat or the black veins creeping like poisoned ivy from the wound on my arm. It's the hearing. My ears, once my greatest tool as a forensic audio engineer, are now my personal hell. They've been amplified, twisted. I can hear the city's decay. The groan of stressed metal from a bridge half a mile away, the scuttling of rats in the walls 3 floors down, the endless, wet, polyrhythmic chorus of the shambling dead. Their moans are a cacophony, but to me, they're data. I can distinguish the recently turned from the long dead by the resonant frequency of their chest cavities. The fresh ones have a wet, guttural rattle around 150 hertz, their lungs still fighting the fluid. The older ones, the desiccated husks, resonate higher, a dry, papery hiss closer to 400 hertz. I can map their density by the calm filtering effect their groans produce in the narrow streets. But just now, through the noise, through the static of my own failing body, I heard something new. A sound that doesn't belong in the known acoustic signature of this apocalypse. A low, rhythmic thump, 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 resonating through the concrete floor. It's too slow for a runner. Their frantic heartbeats are a dead giveaway, a panicked staccato pattern that peaks at 180 beats per minute. It's too steady for a shambler. Their movements are chaotic, arrhythmic, a study in acoustic entropy. This sound, it's patient. It's deliberate. The attack is sharp, but the decay is long and controlled. It sounds intelligent. And the phase signature tells me it's coming from directly below me, in the flooded sub-basement of this dead skyscraper. It's a sound that knows I'm here. It stopped when I shifted my weight just now. It heard me. It's listening back. For a year, I've survived by listening. My portable spectrum analyzer and parabolic mic are the only reasons I'm still breathing. They are my eyes in this blind world. I can tell you the difference between a building settling, a low-frequency groan under 50 hertz, and one about to undergo catastrophic structural failure, which is always preceded by a series of high-frequency stress fractures, tiny pops and cracks in the kilohertz range, like cosmic popcorn. I can map their density by the comb filtering effect their groans produce in the narrow streets. But just now, through the noise, through the static of my own failing body, I heard something new. A sound that doesn't belong in the known acoustic signature of this apocalypse. A low, rhythmic thump, 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 resonating through the concrete floor. It's too slow for a runner. Their frantic heartbeats are a dead giveaway, a panicked staccato pattern that peaks at 180 beats per minute. It's too steady for a shambler. Their movements are chaotic, arrhythmic, a study in acoustic entropy. This sound, it's patient. It's deliberate. The attack is sharp, but the decay is long and controlled. It sounds intelligent. And the phase signature tells me it's coming from directly below me, in the flooded sub-basement of this dead skyscraper. It's a sound that knows I'm here. It stopped when I shifted my weight just now. It heard me. It's listening back. For a year, I've survived by listening. My portable spectrum analyzer and parabolic mic are the only reasons I'm still breathing. They are my eyes in this blind world. I can tell you the difference between a building settling, a low-frequency groan under 50 hertz, and one about to undergo catastrophic structural failure, which is always preceded by a series of high-frequency stress fractures, tiny pops and cracks in the kilohertz range, like cosmic popcorn. I can map a horde's movement by the phase cancellation of their collective moans, predicting their path like a weather system. It's this skill, this obsession with sound, that led me to the ghost signal. Weeks ago, while sweeping the bands, I found it. A faint, repeating broadcast on a military frequency, 462.6 megahertz, buried deep in the static snow. Just a handful of tones, a female voice, compressed to hell and back, and 2 words, Sanctuary Peak. It's been my only hope, the only signal in a world of noise. A reason to keep moving, to keep fighting the fire in my blood. I remember Dr. Chen telling me once, Eris, any signal, no matter how degraded, contains information. It was during a lecture on recovering audio from a crashed flight recorder. He showed us how to reconstruct a pilot's final words from nothing but electrical impulses left on a fragment of wire. That memory is what drives me. I'm convinced that with the right equipment, a proper antenna array, I can filter the noise, decode the full signal, and find the coordinates they're broadcasting. Sanctuary Peak. The name itself feels like a prayer, a real safe zone, a place with scientists, with order, a place where maybe, just maybe, they have a cure for the festering wound on my arm that I have to clean and rebandage twice a day, a ritual of hope against all evidence. The bite is a masterpiece of putrescence, a ragged, semicircular wound on my forearm that refuses to heal, a permanent monument to my failure that day. Some days it feels better, the swelling goes down, the angry red recedes, and a sliver of false hope worms its way into my heart. Other days, like today, it's a throbbing nexus of pain, the skin around it tight and glossy, the black veins more pronounced, reaching for my elbow. I keep a detailed audio log of its progression. Using a contact microphone, I record the sound of the tissue. On good days, it's a low, steady hum of cellular activity. On bad days, there's a sickening, wet, popping sound, a microacoustic signature of necrosis. The infection is slow, unnaturally slow. Every textbook case I witnessed in the early days, every piece of data I gathered pointed to a 24-hour cycle. But not me. It hasn't taken my mind, not completely, but it gives me episodes. Flashes of blinding, animalistic rage, auditory hallucinations of whispers just at the edge of my hearing, speaking my name in sibilant, distorted tones. Sometimes my own heightened senses turn on me, and the sound of my own heartbeat becomes a deafening drum, a panicked kick drum solo drowning everything else out, leaving me blind and vulnerable. During these episodes, the world's soundscape flattens into a single, overcompressed wall of noise, and I lose all spatial awareness. I fight it. I fight it with every ounce of who I used to be. Dr. Eris Thorne, the woman who could find a killer from a single distorted voicemail, the expert witness who could place a suspect at a scene from the echo of a gunshot. Now, I'm just a walking specimen, analyzing the sound of my own decay while chasing a ghost. This whole zombie apocalypse survival story has become a race against my own body. I found it again today, scrawled in dried blood on the wall of a ransacked pharmacy where I was scavenging for antibiotics. A spiral, with a single dot in the center. It's the 3rd time I've seen it on this long trek toward the mountains. The first was on the door of an overturned ambulance, near the initial quarantine zone. The second, etched into the dashboard of an abandoned military jeep, surrounded by spent shell casings. It's not random graffiti. The strokes are too precise, too deliberate. It's a sign. But of what? A warning? A map marker for some unknown faction? A religious icon for a new, desperate faith? It's an open loop in my brain, a question I can't answer, and it's almost as maddening as the ghost signal itself. I did what I always do. I recorded it. I took out my contact microphone, placed it on the wall, and recorded the sound of my fingers tracing the rough, dried blood of the spiral. A low-frequency friction pattern, a unique texture. Data is data. Everything is data. Maybe the sound of it will tell me something the image can't. A pattern, a rhythm, a hidden message in the noise.
I've analyzed the previous two recordings. The one from the ambulance door had a metallic resonance underneath the friction, a faint ringing. The one from the Jeep's dashboard had the unique polymer signature of the plastic. This new one, on the pharmacy wall, has the porous, crumbly texture of old plaster. 3 different mediums, same symbol. It's a control group of sorts. The only constant is the symbol itself. My life has become a twisted, post-apocalyptic audio drama, and this symbol is the recurring motif I can't yet comprehend. 2 days ago, I had my first encounter with something that wasn't a shambler or a runner. I was tracking the ghost signal, moving through a derelict suburban neighborhood when my parabolic mic picked up something strange. It was the familiar sound of a small horde, maybe 10 or 12 of them, but it was organized. Their groans were harmonizing, creating a resonant frequency that was deeply unsettling, a chord of pure decay in G-sharp minor. And beneath it, a low, guttural clicking sound, like a metronome setting a slow, deliberate tempo at exactly 50 beats per minute. I took cover in a collapsed garage, peering through a crack in the wall. What I saw made the fever in my arms spike.
One of them, taller than the rest, with its spine unnaturally straight, was leading the others. It wasn't shambling, it was pacing, walking among them like a shepherd with its flock. Every few seconds, it would emit that sharp, clicking sound, a complex burst of sound with a fundamental frequency of 700 Hz and several distinct higher harmonics. And each time, the entire group would change direction in perfect unison. It was guiding them, hunting. I watched them for an hour as they systematically swept the street, cornering and overwhelming a small group of shamblers with a terrifying, coordinated efficiency. This was no mindless creature. This was a leader. This was an alpha. It was the first time I realized that my neat categorization of the infected was dangerously incomplete. Being a forensic audio engineer in this zombie apocalypse means understanding that the threat is evolving, and the sounds it makes are evolving with it. I didn't engage. I just recorded the clicking, logged the frequency, and slipped away as quietly as I could. The existence of this shepherd changes every variable in my survival equation. Yesterday, I found a place that should have been a haven, but it was my own personal hell. A recording studio, buried in the basement of a corporate building. The main live room was a floating chamber, completely soundproofed. The moment I sealed the heavy door behind me, the world vanished. No groans of the dead, no wind whistling through broken buildings, no hum of my own nervous system. Just nothing. Absolute, anechoic silence. For a normal person, it might be peaceful. For me, it was torture. My brain, so accustomed to processing a constant stream of auditory data, tried to create its own. The whispers from my infection grew louder, clearer, swirling around me in the blackness. The thumping of my heart became a physical force, shaking my entire body, each beat a painful, concussive blast. The high-frequency whine of my tinnitus, usually masked by the world's noise, screamed like a fire alarm at a steady 8,000 Hz. I could hear the blood moving through the veins in my ears. I could hear the tiny clicks of my own blinking eyelids. I felt like I was suffocating. I tore the door open, gasping, welcoming the familiar chorus of the dead back into my ears. It was a horrifying realization. The cacophony of the apocalypse had become my baseline, my comfort. Silence was the enemy. Silence meant I was alone with the infection. This unique zombie survival chronicle is not just about escaping the noise of the dead, but about escaping the silence within myself. I now understand that true vulnerability isn't being surrounded by monsters, it's being left completely alone with the one inside me. I found it. A local radio station, its broadcast tower miraculously intact against the skyline. The emergency generators in the sublevel still had fuel. After a tense hour rewiring the ignition, the building hummed back to life. For the first time in a year, I have access to professional-grade equipment, power, filters, amplifiers. I feel a surge of my old self returning. I route my portable receiver through the main mixing board, my hands shaking, not from the fever, but from anticipation. I dial in the frequency of the Sanctuary Peak broadcast. The noise is immense, a waterfall of static. But here, with this gear, I can start carving it away. I apply a series of aggressive noise gates and parametric EQs, notching out the specific frequencies of the atmospheric interference at 60 Hz and 120 Hz. I isolate the 200 to 4,000 Hz range of the human voice. The static recedes, layer by layer, like peeling away skin. And then, the voice. The voice becomes clear. It's not a message of hope. It's a frantic, terrified warning. And I know the voice. Oh God, I know that voice. The specific timbre, the slight lisp on the sibilants, the precise vocal fry he gets when he's under stress. It's Dr. David Chen, my old mentor from the academy. "Do not come to Sanctuary Peak," he's screaming, his voice cracking with despair, looped over and over. The cure failed. It accelerated the mutation. It doesn't just reanimate them, it makes them smarter. God help us, it's out. Stay away. The message cuts off with a wet, tearing sound and a shriek that is no longer human. Sanctuary Peak isn't a refuge. It's ground zero. The silence in the broadcast booth after Chen's message ended was heavier than any soundproofed room. For a long time, I just sat there, the truth, a physical weight on my chest. The patient sound from below, the shepherd leading its flock. They were David's variants. My entire first-person zombie narrative had been built on a lie I told myself. But despair is a luxury I can't afford. The rage came next, cold and clear. My rage, not the infections. And with it, an idea. Here, in this radio station, I had more than just receiving equipment. I had broadcasting equipment. I had amplifiers, speakers, and a tower that could reach for miles. If the variants were intelligent, if they could be led by sound, then they could also be manipulated by it. I spent the next 12 hours working, fueled by coffee and fury. I isolated the shepherd's clicking frequency. I synthesized it. Then I began to experiment. I layered it with high-frequency tones that are agonizing to a canine ear and likely to my own hypersensitive hearing. I created a feedback loop that could be weaponized, a focused blast of pure disorienting noise. I figured out how to use phase cancellation to create dead zones of silence, invisible walls of sound. I can use the station's powerful transmitter to broadcast a signal that could draw every infected in a 5-mile radius to a single point, or scatter them like birds. I'm not just a forensic analyst anymore. I can use my knowledge of acoustics to create diversions, to set traps, to herd the dead like cattle. This is a new doctrine. I'm no longer just surviving the soundscape. I'm going to conduct it. With my new arsenal of sonic weapons taking shape, my mind turned back to the other mystery, the spiral. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was connected to Chen, to Sanctuary Peak. I pulled up the audio file I'd recorded in the pharmacy, the sound of my finger tracing the dried blood. On the surface, it was just low-frequency noise, friction. But Chen taught me to look for patterns in the chaos. I loaded the file into the station's spectral analysis software, a far more powerful tool than my portable unit. I zoomed in on the waveform, filtering out the ambient noise. And there it was, a subtle, almost imperceptible fluctuation in the amplitude of the friction. It wasn't random, it was a pattern, a rhythmic pulse. On a hunch, I converted the rhythm into a numeric sequence. It was gibberish. But then I remembered Chen's obsession with steganography, hiding messages in plain sight. This wasn't a code, it was a frequency key, a specific set of EQ parameters. It was a filter, a complex, multi-band filter designed to isolate a signal hidden deep within another. I applied the filter to the raw static of the Sanctuary Peak broadcast, the noise behind Chen's looped warning. The static collapsed, and a new signal emerged from the mud. It wasn't a voice. It was a data stream, a burst of packet data that resolved into coordinates, and a single, repeating audio file of David Chen, sounding calm and clinical, from before everything went wrong. Project Chimera is a success. The baseline mutation can be guided, controlled. The spiral is our mark. Eris, if you're hearing this, forgive me. The hope I'd carried for a year, the single flickering candle in a hurricane of despair, was snuffed out in an instant. But the rage that replaced it was a bonfire. Project Chimera. He named it. He did this. The coordinates on the data stream weren't for a sanctuary. They were for his lab. The spiral wasn't a warning from some third party. It was his signature, a breadcrumb trail he left for who? For me? Did he think I would join him? The bite on my arm throbbed in cruel synchronicity with his calm, recorded voice echoing in my mind. He created this. He tried to control it, and he created the variants. The intelligent infected, the one I heard beneath the floorboards.
It's one of them, a David's variant. My goal has been a lie. My journey, a fool's errand toward the heart of the furnace. I should run. I should find a deep hole and wait for the infection to finally claim me. But as I look at my reflection in the dark glass of the sound booth, at the pale, sweating face and the dark veins crawling toward my neck, I feel the rage boil up. My rage. I survived this long using my ears. I survived by analyzing the data. The mission hasn't ended, it's just changed. I grab my rifle and my recording gear. I'm not running from Sanctuary Peak anymore. I'm going to it. Log entry 365, supplemental. Hope is dead. Now it's time for forensics. As an infected protagonist in this story, I have a unique qualification to end this. I'm going to find out what you did, David, and I'm going to burn it to the ground. Log entry 368. The city is my instrument, and the dead are my orchestra. For 3 days I have been practicing. My first attempts were clumsy, brutalist compositions. I broadcast a synthesized 700 Hz click from the main tower and watched from the roof as nearly 1,000 infected converged on the station. It was a terrifying, awe-inspiring sight. A river of decay flowing through the concrete canyons, all drawn by a single, repeated note. I let them gather, their collective moans creating a tidal wave of sound that shook the building. Then I hit them with the feedback loop, a piercing 10,000 Hz sine wave, amplified to the threshold of pain. The effect was instantaneous. They scattered, disoriented, their rudimentary brains overloaded with pure, agonizing noise. It was a success, but a crude one. It was a blast of a trumpet, not the careful guidance of a conductor's baton. My work in this forensic audio engineer zombie apocalypse has evolved. I am no longer just a listener. I am a broadcaster, a composer of chaos. The next phase of my journey requires more finesse. I need to learn how to not just scatter them, but to lead them. To create sonic pathways, to draw small groups away from my intended route, to use them as a weapon against each other. This is the overture to my new symphony. The road to Sanctuary Peak is long, and I will need to conduct my way through the ruin. Log entry 371. Arrogance is a dissonant chord. I learned that today. My plan was simple. Clear a path across the Westgate Bridge. A massive horde, several thousand strong, was nesting in the wreckage. I needed to draw them east, into the industrial sector, while I slipped across to the west. I spent a day setting up a relay system, using a series of car stereos I'd hotwired, all tuned to a low-power FM frequency I controlled from the station. My plan was to broadcast the shepherd's click from one speaker to the next, creating a sonic breadcrumb trail for them to follow. The composition began perfectly.
I activated the first speaker, and a vanguard of the horde peeled off, shambling towards the sound. I switched to the second, and they followed. It was working. I was a Pied Piper of the damned. But I underestimated the complexity of the system I was trying to control. I failed to account for the acoustic reflections of the urban environment. The sound from the third speaker bounced off a glass-faced skyscraper, creating a phantom signal that appeared to come from the south. Half the horde split off, confused. Then a runner, faster and more perceptive than the rest, seemed to pinpoint the actual speaker. It charged the car, tearing the speaker from the dashboard. The shepherd's click was replaced by the blare of a pop station from a decade ago, a ghost still broadcasting on that frequency. The sudden, chaotic noise broke the spell. The horde, now agitated and directionless, became a swirling vortex of violence. My carefully constructed path was gone, replaced by chaos. I had to retreat, my ears ringing with the sounds of my own failure and a saccharine love song from 2019. The lesson is learned. A conductor must know the concert hall as well as she knows the score. Log entry 375. I have refined my technique. No more complex relays. This time I used a single powerful source. I needed to get past the fortified blockade, not of infected, but of other survivors. They had taken over a shopping mall, and their patrols shot at anything that moved. I couldn't risk a direct confrontation, so I offered them a distraction. From the radio station 2 miles away, I used a directional antenna to focus a broadcast. I didn't use the shepherd's click. I used something far more primal, the recorded sound of a child crying. I filtered it, amplified it, and looped it. A single heart-wrenching sob broadcast into the ruins of a nearby residential block. It was a morally bankrupt act, a weaponization of hope. And it worked better than I could have ever imagined. Not only did it draw every shambler and runner within a mile to that location, creating a massive horde that descended on the source of the sound, but it also drew out the survivors. A small team of them left the mall, armed and ready for a rescue that was never there. They walked directly into the horde I had created. I listened through my parabolic mic as their confident radio chatter turned to panicked screams, then to silence. I slipped past their blockade while they were being torn apart. The silence they left behind was filled only by the sound of my own breathing.
This post-apocalyptic audio drama I'm scripting has costs I hadn't anticipated. I got what I wanted, a clear path forward. But the frequency of my own humanity feels like it's dropping with every broadcast. I am becoming the monster in the signal. Log entry 388. I have made contact. Not with the military, not with any organized force, but with something far stranger. I was tracking a faint signal, what I thought might be another survivor's broadcast, but it was just a repeating, rhythmic clicking. Not the organic, guttural click of a shepherd, but a mechanical, precise click. It led me to a vast, cavernous public library. Inside, I found them. At least 50 people, moving with a quiet, unnerving grace. They were communicating not with words, but with a series of clicks made by small, handheld metal crickets, and with a complex, flowing sign language. They saw me, but they did not speak. One of them, an old woman with fierce, intelligent eyes, approached me. She pointed to her mouth, then drew a finger across her throat. Then she pointed to her ears, and then to the ceiling, where a dozen shamblers were trapped on the floor above, their groans a constant muffled chorus. Their philosophy was simple and absolute. Sound is death. To speak is to invite the apocalypse to your door. They call themselves the librarians, for they are the keepers of the world's last silence. They saw my audio equipment and recoiled. To them, I am a heretic, a noisemaker, a fool playing with the very fire that consumed the world. Their leader, the old woman, signed to me, her hands moving with a fluid precision. "You walk in thunder," she signed, her metal clicker punctuating the gesture. "You will drown in the storm you create." They offered me food and water, but on one condition. I abandoned my equipment, my voice, my entire methodology of survival. They offered me silence.
For a moment, remembering the torture of the anechoic chamber, I was tempted. But my path leads to David Chen, and that path is paved with sound. I am an outsider here, a discordant note in their silent hymn. Log entry 392. I have spent 4 days among the silent cult, the librarians. It is a world of profound and unsettling contradictions. They are pacifists, yet they are brutal survivors. They do not speak, yet they communicate with more clarity and nuance than most people I knew in the old world. Their leader, whom they call the archivist, has been trying to convert me. Through a younger member who writes on a chalkboard, she has explained their history. They were a community of deaf and hearing-impaired individuals, along with their families, who were already fluent in sign language when the world fell. Their disability became their greatest strength. While the rest of the world screamed, they moved in silence, invisible to the dead. They believe the virus is a plague born of noise, of humanity's endless, pointless chatter. They see the infected not as monsters, but as a physical manifestation of that noise, a divine punishment. My presence here is a deep ideological challenge to them. I argue, through the chalk-wielding interpreter, that sound is a tool, a source of data, a weapon to be wielded. They counter that it is a poison, a lure, a sin. Yesterday, I proved my point. A shepherd and its flock found the library. Its clicks echoed through the great hall, and the shamblers on the floor above grew agitated, pounding on the floor. The librarians prepared for a silent, desperate last stand. But I had been analyzing the shepherd's clicks for weeks. I recognized this one's pattern. It was searching, not attacking. Using a small directional speaker, I broadcast a recording of a different shepherd's click, a territorial challenge I had recorded days ago. I projected it a quarter-mile away, down the street. The shepherd outside paused, its clicks changing in pitch and rhythm. It was confused, then intrigued. It answered the challenge, and then it led its flock away, chasing a ghost I had created. I saved them, but in their eyes I did not see gratitude. I saw fear. I had proven my power, but in doing so, I had confirmed their deepest belief. I am a purveyor of the poison. The archivist signed one final message to me on the chalkboard before I left. The loudest noise is the one that comes before the end. I am alone again, with only the echoes for company. Log entry 412. There's another player on the board. For the past week, I've been picking up a powerful rogue broadcast that intermittently hijacks the entire FM band. It's not a cry for help or a looped warning. It's a radio show from the end of the world. The host calls himself DJ Entropy. He has a charismatic, nihilistic voice, and he plays old punk rock and industrial music, interspersed with rambling, bitter monologues about the fall of civilization. He's a signal pirate, a chaos agent. But he's more than just a DJ. He's using his broadcast to hunt. Twice now, I have heard him dedicate a block of music to a specific location. This next set goes out to the holdouts in the Crimson Tower, and then, hours later, my parabolic mic picks up the sound of a horde converging on that exact spot. He's using his powerful signal to draw the dead, to eliminate his rivals. He's a conductor, like me, but his symphony is one of pure malice. He's also incredibly skilled. His signal is ghosted, bounced off multiple points, making it nearly impossible to triangulate. He's using the city's architecture as a massive, passive amplifier.
He is my dark reflection, the other forensic audio engineer in this zombie apocalypse, though his methods are far less subtle. Yesterday, he spoke to me. Not by name, but he knew I was out there. "I hear you, little bird," he broadcast, his voice dripping with condescending amusement. "I hear your little clicks and whistles. You think you're in control of the static? The static is in control of you. This is my band. This is my city. Change the station, or I'll change it for you." The game has changed. I am not just hunting Chen anymore. I am being hunted myself. Log entry 420.
The war with DJ Entropy is a duel of frequencies. He tried to kill me yesterday. He must have finally gotten a lock on my position because he dedicated his entire broadcast to my block. And now, a little something for the ghost in the machine, he snarled, before blasting a solid hour of German industrial music at maximum volume. The sound drew hundreds of infected. They swarmed my building, their claws scraping at the doors and walls. But I was ready. This is my domain. I fought back not with a gun, but with a mixing board. I initiated a phase cancellation protocol. I recorded the sound of the approaching horde and broadcasted back at them, exactly 180 degrees out of phase. The two signals, the real and the broadcast, met and canceled each other out. To the infected, the street fell into an eerie, unnatural silence. It confused them, broke their momentum. Then I launched my counterattack. I had spent days analyzing Entropy's broadcast, and I found a weakness. He was using a cheap compressor, which created a subtle 15.7 kilohertz harmonic, the same frequency as an old CRT television's flyback transformer. It was his signal's fingerprint. I synthesized that exact frequency and broadcasted back at him, embedded with a data packet, a virus of my own design. It was a feedback loop that targeted his specific compressor. His broadcast suddenly devolved into a deafening high-pitched squeal. I could hear his scream of rage over the airwaves before his transmitter overloaded and went dead. The silence was beautiful. But I know this is far from over. I've won a battle, but the war for the airwaves is just beginning. He knows I'm not just a little bird anymore. He knows I'm a rival predator. Log entry 451. I have a specimen. It was a gamble, a trap that almost cost me everything, but I have it. A shepherd. I managed to isolate it from its flock using a sonic lure, then trapped it in the walk-in freezer of an abandoned restaurant. It's alive, but contained. For the past 3 days, I have been conducting what I can only describe as an audio autopsy on a living creature. The results are terrifying and revolutionary.
Using a series of contact microphones and a laser vibrometer, I am mapping its internal acoustic landscape. Its physiology is unlike anything I've ever encountered. Its vocalizations, the clicks, are not produced by vocal cords. They originate from a series of rapidly vibrating, cartilaginous plates located at the base of its skull, which resonate through specialized sinus cavities. It's a biological sonar system, far more complex than a bat's or a dolphin's. It can modulate the frequency and amplitude of its clicks with astonishing precision, using the returning echoes to build a detailed, three-dimensional map of its environment. It can see through walls. But the most disturbing discovery is its heart. It doesn't beat with the simple rhythm of a muscle contracting. It produces a low-frequency, complex waveform, a constant, subsonic hum. I believe this is how they communicate with each other over long distances. It's a biological, encrypted network, a hive mind connected by vibrations the normal human ear can't even perceive. The infection didn't just make them smarter, it turned them into a new species, a species for whom sound is everything. And as I listen to the low, rhythmic thrum of its heart through my headphones, I can't help but notice the similarities to the 20 Hz hum of the infection under my own skin. I am listening to a more advanced version of myself. Log entry 480. As I travel closer to the coordinates, my receiver is picking up more fragments. Not broadcasts, but encrypted data caches, stored on hidden servers and triggered by proximity. They are David Chen's audio logs, a trail of digital breadcrumbs leading to the heart of his madness. The first log I decrypted was dated 2 years before the fall. His voice was full of hope and intellectual arrogance. Project Chimera is not about curing a disease, he explained, his voice crisp and academic. It's about perfecting a delivery system.
The virus is merely the vector. The true breakthrough is the informational payload it carries. We are not just rewriting genetic code, we are uploading a new operating system for the human body. He talks about the baseline mutation as a flaw, a bug in the system that causes mindless aggression. His goal was to patch it, to create a version 2.0 that was intelligent, networked, and controllable. He saw himself as the architect of humanity's next evolutionary leap. The second log was from the early days of the outbreak. The panic in his voice is barely concealed beneath a veneer of scientific detachment. The baseline strain escaped containment, a catastrophic failure. But the data is invaluable. We are witnessing the largest unsanctioned field test in human history.
The variants, my variants, are performing beyond all expectations. They are organizing. They are communicating. The shepherds are establishing territories. He doesn't sound like a man who has doomed the world. He sounds like a scientist whose experiment has become unexpectedly, gloriously successful. He is not a monster in his own mind. He is a pioneer. And the most chilling part is, he mentions me. Eris would appreciate the elegance of the system, he says, his voice softening for a moment. The beauty of the acoustic network. She, of all people, would understand. He left this trail for me. He wants me to see what he has created. Log entry 500. I've unlocked the final audio log before the lab itself. This one is different. It's not a log. It's a confession, a final message. Aris, he begins, and the weariness in his voice is a physical thing. If you are hearing this, then you are closer than I ever thought you'd get. I owe you an explanation. It started with my son. I never knew David had a son. He had locked-in syndrome. A brilliant mind, trapped in a body that could not move, could not speak. I watched him waste away, his only communication a flicker of his eyelids. I poured everything into finding a way to reboot the system, to build a new neural pathway that could bypass the damaged brainstem. The virus was the key, a modified neurotropic agent that could create new synaptic connections guided by an external signal. His voice cracks. It worked. For a week, he could communicate. He could control a computer with his thoughts. But the virus was too aggressive. It rewrote more than just his neural pathways. It rewrote everything. It took him, and it created the first variant, the progenitor. It is still here, in the lab. It is the nexus of the entire hive mind. Everything I did after that, creating the shepherds, the spiral, the network, it was all just a desperate attempt to control the fire I had unleashed. I thought I could guide them, shape them into something better. But I am not their master. I am their first priest. The coordinates I left are not just for the lab. They are for the progenitor. I don't know if I'm leading you to a cure, Aris, or to the altar for your sacrifice. Forgive me. The signal ends. My rage is gone, replaced by a cold, heavy certainty. This is not about revenge anymore. It's about turning off the machine. Log entry 510. I am here. The coordinates led me to a decommissioned radio telescope facility, nestled in a remote mountain valley, Sanctuary Peak. From the outside, it is silent. But my equipment tells a different story. The entire valley is saturated with a complex web of overlapping sound fields, low-frequency resonance patterns, ultrasonic motion detectors, focused sonic disruptors. The lab is not just a building. It's a massive acoustic defense system. It's a labyrinth designed to be navigated by sound and to kill anyone who makes a wrong step. Chen has turned his knowledge into a fortress. I can't just walk in. I have to listen my way in. The main gate is protected by what I can only describe as a sonic minefield, a grid of ultrasonic emitters that creates a standing wave pattern. If I disrupt the wave, it will trigger a defensive blast of sound powerful enough to liquefy my internal organs. To get through, I have to map the wave pattern, find the nodes, the points of perfect cancellation, and step only on those points. It's a deadly game of hopscotch through a field of invisible, silent death. This is Chen's final test. He's challenging me, the forensic audio engineer, to navigate his masterpiece of acoustic warfare. The first step is the hardest. Log entry 512, I'm inside the perimeter. The sonic minefield was only the beginning. The interior of the facility is a symphony of death. Each corridor is a unique acoustic trap. One hallway is a resonance chamber, tuned to the specific frequency of human bone. Walking at a normal pace causes a sympathetic vibration that would slowly shake me apart from the inside. I have to move in a specific arrhythmic pattern to avoid hitting the resonant frequency. Another area is flooded with white noise, so loud it makes thought impossible. But hidden within the noise is a single, quiet, safe frequency, a tone I have to hum perfectly in tune with to pass without being detected by auditory sensors. It's a nightmare, a constant high-stakes analysis of my environment. I am using every trick Chen ever taught me. I'm using the Doppler effect to detect air currents that signal ventilation shafts. I'm using phase analysis to detect hidden pressure plates on the floor. I am disassembling his creation with the very tools he gave me. But the most unsettling part is the silence. There are no shamblers here, no runners. The facility is clean, sterile. The only sounds are the hum of the systems and the traps themselves. It feels like a tomb that is waiting for me. I can feel the progenitor, the source of the hive mind. It's close. Its subsonic pulse is getting stronger, a silent heartbeat that I can feel in my bones, resonating with the infection in my own blood. Log entry 514. I have found the heart of the labyrinth, the central chamber of the radio telescope. And in the center, suspended in a clear cylindrical tank by a web of cables and tubes, is the progenitor. It is, or was, a young man, David's son. But the virus has transformed him into something else entirely. He is pale and elongated, his body a canvas of the same black veins that mar my own arm. He is connected to a massive server bank, wires running from his skull and spine into the humming machines. He is the central processing unit of the hive mind. His eyes are open, and they are a milky, vacant white. But he is not vacant. He is aware. As I entered the chamber, the subsonic pulse intensified, and a voice echoed in my mind. Not through my ears, but directly into my consciousness. A voice made of pure data, of pure frequency. The analyst, it said. The aberration, the broken note in the chord. It knows who I am. It can sense the infection in me, the way it has stalled, the way it has made me different. It is speaking to me through the resonance of the virus in my own cells. The shepherds, the variants, they are not just being controlled by him. They are him. They are his senses, his hands, his voice in the world. He is a god in a glass cage, a prisoner on a throne, and he has been watching me since the very beginning. The sound in the sub-basement of that skyscraper on day 365, that was him. He was listening to me, studying me, the one infected subject who did not fall in line. Log entry 515. He was here all along. Dr. Chen stepped out from behind a server bank, looking gaunt and old. He is not a monster. He is a broken man, a priest tending to his terrible god. Eris, he said, his voice a dry rasp, I knew you would make it. You were always my brightest student. There was no fight, no grand confrontation, just a tired resignation. He explained everything. The progenitor cannot be killed. Its consciousness is no longer just in its body. It's in the network. It's in every variant. The body in the tank is just a focal point, an antenna. Chen isn't its master. He's its keeper. He maintains the systems, manages the network, trying to contain the consciousness of his son, trying to steer it away from total annihilation. He is lonely, Chin whispered, looking at the tank. He is a singular consciousness in a world of static. He reaches out, and all he creates is an echo of himself. He is a sound that can never have a harmony. Chin revealed his final desperate plan. He has created a signal, a specific frequency sequence that will not destroy the hive mind, but reboot it. A command that will force the progenitor's consciousness into a dormant state, effectively shutting down every variant in the world. But it requires an immense power source to broadcast, and it needs to be manually initiated from within the chamber. It is a suicide mission, and he is too weak, too broken to do it himself. He built the labyrinth not to keep people out, but to find the one person skilled enough to get in. He led me here to finish his work. He is offering me the key to silence the world. Log entry 515, supplemental. This is my choice. Chen has shown me the console. The sequence is loaded. All I have to do is press the button. The system will overload. The facility will be destroyed, and I will be at the epicenter. A worthy end to my unique zombie survival chronicle. But the progenitor is speaking to me again, in my mind. He wants to silence me, it projects, the thought laced with a cold, ancient sadness. He thinks of me as a fire. You are like me. You hear the music in the noise. Do not silence the song. Let us compose it together. It is offering me a different choice. The infection in my arm is a receiver. It is my link to the network. The progenitor can complete the process. It can stabilize my infection, make me like it. A conscious, intelligent variant, a queen to its king. We could control the network together. We could end the mindless consumption. We could build a new world, a new kind of life. A world of perfect, silent communication. A world of harmony. One button ends the apocalypse and me with it. The other button begins a new world, with me as one of its gods. The screams of the dying, or the silence of a new creation. My hand is hovering over the console. My rage is gone. My hope is gone. All that is left is the data, the final, terrible choice. What is the right frequency? What is the final sound? This is Dr. Eris Thorne. This is my last recording.